Welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and the many ways to achieve financial independence. We interview accomplished investors and entrepreneurs with the goal that their stories inspire you to take control of your financial future. Here to get your creative juices flowing while also documenting their own personal investing journeys are your hosts, Corey Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua.
Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. As always, it's your boys Ryan and Corey here with another episode. Today we interviewed Tommy Harr. He's a 28-year-old home inspector turned real estate investor in Columbus, Ohio. Throughout the episode, we chatted about wholesaling, his biggest mistakes, his biggest, pros, if you will, or like biggest benefits of investing in real estate, but talked through a bunch of strategies from relationship building to underwriting deals to location and partnerships. And it was kind of all encompassing with an underlying theme of let's talk about wholesaling and walk through your journey. But as I mentioned earlier, Tommy started as a home inspector and kind of met a few different people, opened his eyes to, hey, I want to be on the investing side of real estate, not just working for other people, and kind of talked us through his whole story.
What you want to do is listen for the part in the episode where Tommy talks about how he got in with like a really big influencer who happens to be a major real estate investor. He went to one of his meetups, and I'm not going to give away the name, you'll listen to it in the show, but he went to one of his meetups and he found the exact way that he needed to provide value to this guy, built a relationship with him, then he became the mentee of him. So that, if there's anything to take away from this episode, I think is like how to get in with people that you want to mentor you without saying, hey, let me take you out for coffee or let me pick your brain, because people's time is valuable. So that was a really, really cool aspect of what he did. Tommy owns, I think, about 50 properties. He has rentals, he has short-term rentals, he has long-term rentals. He does flipping, wholesaling, he just a bunch of different exit strategies to get in and out of deals. And he's in the Columbus, Ohio area and just knocking it dead in that market. People are calling him from across the country to try to get in deals with him. And he says he uses Instagram and social media, like how to build the network of lenders, people to do deals with. He was just, he was fun. We had a lot of fun with him because he seemed like one of us.
Yeah, there was a lot of parallels between our businesses too. And I will say he talked about leveraging his, as Corey mentioned, his Instagram to build authentic relationships and take them off social media into real life and implement them to scale his business, which is very, very cool. He also has a new mentorship program called The Real Side of Real Estate. And we talk about it towards the end of the episode. People can get involved, but it's an unbelievable opportunity for people. If you're looking for a relatively cheap mastermind to get into, and you'll learn construction, flipping, wholesaling, how to run a business,
lending.
Lending. If you listen to this guy talk throughout the entire episode, you're gonna think he's just like us, which is cool because we vibed very hard. But I think if you want someone to, Corey and I are very high on relationships now, and like just getting in the right room with the right people. He's one of those right people. Even when we just talked to him for an hour, I can just feel the authenticity with him. So I would give his page a look at. I would check out his program, and just enjoy the episode. It's one of my favorites so far. And without further ado, I think we bring him in.
Let's do it.
For real estate investors, going mobile is the next big thing for managing our properties. We like to have the power and resources in the palm of our hand. When we're hunting for deals, we're consistently go, go, go. Having RentReady's property management app is great for checking in on all our properties, especially when it's time to collect rent. With RentReady, we get the benefit of both mobile and web apps that allow us to collect rent from anywhere. We not only get instant notifications when rent is paid, but we also have the ability to send automatic reminders to tenants when rent is due or late. From finding the perfect tenant to collecting rent, everything an investor needs to build wealth and manage their investing portfolio can now be found under one roof with RentReady. The most exciting news is that RentReady gave us an exclusive 50% off promo code that can now be used by all of our Weekly Juice listeners. You just need to visit rentready.com and enter the code JUICEPOD to get 50% off any RentReady plan. That is RentReady.com and enter the code JUICEPOD, JUICEPOD, to receive 50% off any RentReady plan.
All right, Tommy. Well, officially welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast. Corey and I are so excited to have you on the show. We've done some background research on you. We've been following each other on Instagram for a while. You're doing incredible things. So we are just happy to bring your story to our listeners, and we appreciate you joining us today, man.
Definitely appreciate both of you having me on. I'm super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we should just kind of talk through your journey. I want to kind of start, you could take us as far back as you want, but I want to talk from your kind of journey from from a home inspector to real estate investor, right? So you kind of like dabbled a little bit and then scaled your way up. So can you take us through that journey?
Yeah, so I graduated college, University of Dayton, if you've ever heard of it, in Dayton, Ohio. Played soccer there, so I played sports my whole life. I don't really ever talk about that on social media, stuff like that, but graduated from college. I'm one of 5 kids, and my dad's a home inspector. So always told him, I'm the oldest boy as well, so I always told him I was going to be his right-hand man, whatever he did. And I graduated college and became a home inspector. But growing up, he had another business that I worked in full-time, not full-time, but in the summers and all that stuff, property preservation. So 08, 09 to 13, when the banks were foreclosing on everything, and I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and it was bad here like it was everywhere else. The banks were foreclosing on everything. Neighborhoods were ravaged. Somebody had to go and board the houses up, winterize them, change the locks, mow the lawns, all that stuff. So that was my start into real estate. So he had a 60-employee business at one point. I was hiring friends and older soccer players to come drive around. We would put push mowers in the back of a truck and go mow lawns, 10, 20 lawns a day in the summer. So that was kind of my intro. But then that company was dissolved pretty much by the time I graduated college in 2017. So still said I was going to work with him, and then didn't really knew what he did beside that. So the other business was being a home inspector. He's been doing it for 20 years. So knew nothing about houses, nothing about really anything business-wise. Just knew that I'd seen my dad give pretty much everything to all 5 of us kids, and decided to go that same route because he worked a shit ton, but he was also at every one of our games. We're all athletes. 3 of the 5 kids were Division I athletes. So he was always there. He was the coach. And I was like, that sounds pretty sweet. I want to do that as well.
Cool. So it's funny that you say that, the preservation kind of thing. We just went through this experience where, like, I'm not sure if you would do this too. Would you ever go out after like a property fire and like board up and stuff like that, or not necessarily? Yeah. Yeah. We got
pretty much everything.
Yeah. We had somebody call me, dude, they were out there like this. We had unfortunately, one of our rentals burned down like in February. And it's a long story, but that business of like going out there, they like boarded it up. They made sure nobody can go in, locked it up and all that. So it's interesting how we've had experience with it. And they called me like the day after. The dude walked me through like everything I need to know, who's going to be calling me next. It was more of a like insurance thing, but
sure.
It's cool to know that you know about that business. But my next question is what did you learn about being an inspector that drove you to the investing side? Like, how did you shift? Because I know a lot of times I hear we have some lawyer friends, or actually I know somebody who like used to be a lawyer who was on their way, and then they're seeing all these checks come in for all the investing side. They're like, wait a second, like I got to be on the other side of this table here. Was it something similar that happened to you?
It's very similar. So, I mean, I was, like I said, apprentice model, I call it. I was following my dad around like a puppy dog, learning about every component of the house. And then over time, we were doing draw inspections for hard money. So you guys know about money. And so when you get a hard money loan from a bank, somebody has to come out and draw the funds out. So they put it in an escrow account. Somebody has to come certify that work is being done and done right. That was us. So at the same time, I've done probably 10,000, and I shit you not, probably 10,000 hard money draw inspections, because Columbus was booming as I started to graduate college. And these areas that I was once fixing up these houses, mowing the lawns, boarding them up, those were the areas that were transitioning as well. So I start meeting these investors, and I start learning that they're no different than me. They're not smarter. They just kind of went for it. And what I realized was that none of them knew about construction really that much at all. So I had now a leg up on all the investors. And I was like, okay, it's old school kind of bartering. Like, I have what they need. They have what I want. They are making way more money than me. The lifestyle I see, I started following a couple of them on Instagram. Like, I don't know if you know who Austin Rutherford is, but
oh yeah,
he's one of my mentors. I would say he is my mentor. And I was doing pretty much all of his inspections. And I'm like, who is this guy? He looks like he's young. And I meet him, he's like 24 at the time. And I'm like, okay, I need to know what he knows, because I see him jumping off yachts. I see these guys I'm like, that's the life. I'm working 80 hours, walking through human shit sometimes, like for $75 to $100. Like, I got to figure out what they know. So that was kind of the spark. And at the same time, my uncle, when I was graduating college, called me, and because I got a finance degree, and he was like, Tommy, do you want to invest in real estate with me in Chicago? And I was like, no, I don't know anything about real estate. It's all funny how it comes together, but Like, I don't know anything about real estate. I don't know anything about, I don't want to go to Chicago. I'm also telling my dad I'm going to work with him when I graduate. So it's a no. Then as I started to meet these investors, it kind of came full circle, and I called him back and I was like, hey, would you consider investing in Ohio? Like, is that something, because he's from Ohio. He was like, yeah, like find a deal and we'll talk about it. So that was kind of the beginning of starting to train that muscle. And then really all I had to do was learn how to evaluate a deal, which is obviously not easy, find deals, and then find money at the same time. So Bigger Pockets was my best friend, because driving around all day, every day in the car, and I listened to probably 400 podcasts in a year.
Yeah. And being an inspector is like, it's interesting because you get like a firsthand take on the market and like what's going on and like, what are things to fix? But then you're seeing all these homes. I know that you lost money on your first deal with your uncle. I want to talk about this because that could most of the time take people away from the like, I'm not doing this. This doesn't work. Like it. So, but evidently you turned that around and flipped it on its head. So what was that deal about? Why'd you lose money and how'd you change it?
Yes, I mean, the first deal, so like I said, he put me on to real estate investing. And then also at the same time, like you said, I was meeting all the investors. I was seeing all the areas transition. At the same time, I also got to meet everybody's contractors too, because I was meeting everybody's contractors on site. So I'm sitting there talking to them. I see who has really bad work. I see who has really good work. And I'm taking notes. So, if I get somebody that's the owner, because you can clearly tell who the owner is when you're there, and just kind of pick their brain while you're on site. So ended up finding a contractor. I was like, okay, he does good work. He put me onto a house that was going to auction. So sent it over to my uncle and purchased it for $425,000 in a really rich neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio, downtown, 100-year-old place. It's Bexley, Ohio, if anybody's ever heard about it. 6 bedrooms, 5 full bathrooms, 4,000 square foot, like just beautiful old house, and was just such a mistake to do something like that first. But thought I was the shit. So I was like, yeah, I'm flipping a house, I'm doing this. And I lived in it. So I lived in it for probably 14 to 16 months. So from purchase all the way to sell, it took us, I think, 18 months to exit that deal. So we bought it for $425. My uncle funded it. I managed the general contractor. And if you're watching the video, general is in quotation marks, because he ended up being kind of like a one-man show, kind of duped me into it. And should have fired him probably 12 months earlier. Went through that whole mistake. Over rehabbed. We thought we were going to spend 150 in rehab. We ended up spending like 250. We thought ARV was 850. We sold it for 710. So a mixture of hold time, over rehab, and overshooting ARV. We just got destroyed. We lost about $100,000 on that deal.
I gotta say though, it sounds, for people listening, like, oh my God, he lost $100,000. The lessons you learned within that are things you'll never do again. And we've been burned a couple times on just side things, right? Some are real estate, some not, and random projects. But I don't look at those as mistakes, really. Like, they're mistakes, right? But they're just essentially stepping stones to not make the same mistake again. And you really have to go through that stuff. It sounds so cliche, but looking back there, like you're at a totally different wavelength right now, and you're still only 28, which is we'll catch up. Yeah. But like, it's worth losing that $100,000 to learn all the lessons along the way and go through it, because you'll never make those decisions again, but also you can weave through other scenarios and just, I don't know how to really vocalize that, but I actually like that happened to you the first time. Some people get scared, right? And then they're done. But I guess let's talk how you said, nope, I'm going to fix this and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would have been a cocky, probably arrogant bastard if I would have made money on that first deal. I'd been like, oh, I just flipped a 4,000 square foot house. Like, I'm the man, I'm 22. Luckily it didn't. So it was kind of like I always look at it like injuries in sports. Like, you're the man and then you get injured and then you're nothing. So you got to kind of just keep on going. So as far as that, like, there was no quit. I had listened to too many Bigger Pockets podcasts. I'd heard too many wins, too many success stories, and I'd seen too many people doing these inspections that were winning. And I was like, I know this works. The formula that I've laid out just obviously does not work. So I'm no longer flipping 100-year-old 4,000 square foot houses. I'm renovating and keeping or flipping 3-bed, 1-bath in very dense areas that have very repeatable comparable sales. I know how to manage contractors and build a very tight scope of work. I know how to really manage people. And just like a lot of those lessons were just crazy and valuable during that time period.
Do you think it was each project as you kind of progressed that kind of like shaped you into the investor you are today, or is there something else you attribute to it? And I guess I'm kind of not trying to allude here because I actually don't know the answer, but I think people joining masterminds or getting around people like you mentioned Austin as your mentor, like he's an animal. Like he just turned 30. I saw it on his Instagram. I'm like, dude, this guy's got thousands of units. I feel like I've seen his story out for 10 plus years on Instagram. I was like, I want to be that guy. I thought he was 40, maybe because he's bald. But
I make jokes with them all the time. Like, you sold your hair. That's what people on TikTok are saying. Like, oh, you're a millionaire at 30. You sold your hair. Like all that stuff.
Yeah, dude, exactly. It's like, plus the lifestyle he's living in, the cars he had, the Wraith at like 25, whatever. I'm like, damn. But to say back to the question, it's kind of like, do you attribute it to the projects themselves or the people, combo of both? Like, how would you, I guess, recommend people go out now that are like, listen to your story, like, wow, he's killing it. What can I do to bring myself up?
It was definitely both. I mean, it was willing to take the risk on yourself. It was like, you gotta educate yourself somehow. If you want to pay for a course, I self-educated myself because I didn't have any money. I was 22, living in my parents' basement, being a home inspector. So Bigger Pockets and Bigger Pockets Forum and a couple books were my best friend. Whereas if you have a full-time job and you don't want to take that risk, I would highly recommend vetting somebody out and having them be your mentor, because you're skipping the line. You're getting, and it's for like Austin, for example, he didn't teach me real estate, but he taught me a lot of business. And I learned things in 2 years and 3 years that I would have stumbled. I would have lost millions of dollars doing them the wrong way. So that was huge, just to jump the line and learn from other people's mistakes.
So I don't want to keep pressing on the Austin button here, but I think my question for you is, you mentioned he has influenced you in business a lot more. Like, how did you show your value to him, right? I know you're his inspector and you're around him a lot, but they're outside of just the vibe and you guys hanging out and talking, right? Probably have a lot to relate to. You're similar age, right? Was there anything else that you did to say, hey, like, you want to keep me around?
Yeah, that story is actually pretty funny because he used to, so I now host meetups around town for free for people that are young and want to get into the game. He did the same thing when he was in Columbus. So as I was getting in the game, I'd be in the back and be like, okay, this dude knows his shit. So what I realized was, at the same time as I started getting deals, because I was like, okay, I want to buy deals. And so I'm going to get on every wholesaler's list. So what I did was I got on every list and I realized every wholesaler took absolutely horrible pictures and they knew nothing about a house. So I was like, okay, I'm a home inspector. I'm already out and about. Pay me $75. So I went up to him at the end of one of the meetups. I said, hey, I know you probably pay a college kid $50 for pictures. I'll do it for $75. I was like, hey, I'll give you a 1-page report with that. And you can use it as leverage with the seller too, because I know these people don't know what they're looking at when they're going through. So you can use it as leverage with your seller and leverage with your buyer. So essentially you're spending $75 to make a bunch of spread more in the middle. So, and I didn't realize at the time that was going to catch like wildfire. So they called me the next day. I did one. It blew it out of the water. And then over time, every wholesaler was calling me. So that was my into the investing world in Columbus. That's how everybody started to know me. I was the inspector that was doing these inspections, but at the same time, it was mutually beneficial because I wanted to buy deals. I was seeing every single wholesale deal before they hit the market. So they were getting a good product. I was seeing deals. And then I also got to evaluate them as they came through and saw what deals really looked like at the same time. So it was crazy that how it worked out. It wasn't really planned exactly that way, but it worked out literally perfectly.
This is crazy. And it's so creative that you were able to find your niche that way. I think that just because everything, by the way, I heard this David Green say this the other day. It's so much harder to do anything involving real estate now because, well, obviously because of the way the market's going, but it's so densely populated with people that want to do it, right? But that doesn't mean that all the people that are doing it are good at it, right? I mean, there's a lot people that are better, but you created this little like area where you could provide the value, like, and that's really smart. There's a number of ways to do that. If you're good with Excel, you're a good bookkeeper, you maybe you're good editing and you can do you can run somebody's social media. Like there's so many ways to try to jump in and provide that value. And I've heard this time and time again, stories of people saying, oh, this is how I did it. And it wasn't, can I pick your brain? Like that's not it, man. So very, very cool. I want to talk about your bread and butter now, like as you've grown. I know that you got mentored by Austin, but like is it wholesaling, flipping, rentals? I know you do Airbnbs. Like, are you like just all around real estate trying to figure out what the best thing to do is with that deal? Or do you have something that you target over and over and over again?
Yeah, so everything started with wholesaling. So it all dates back from the beginning of like young broke, I needed money. So I learned to wholesale. So that was the thing. Like, and I was learning sales at the same time being an inspector because my dad's business was a one-man show with zero marketing. So I was going out there every day to try and figure out how to sell. So I learned how to sell from the ground up, meeting people, and turned out wholesaling is the same exact thing. So being able to talk to people, being able to persuade to use you. So wholesaling was, once I heard it on Bigger Pockets, I was like, how is this even a real thing? So, I mean, you can go create money out of nothing. Like, I'm signed up. I need to know everything about it. So started to learn wholesale. But at the same time, learning from Bigger Pockets, I'm like, I want to still live for free. I learned about house hacking. So I'm like, okay, I need to make money and I need to learn to house hack. So I always, our business is still based on wholesaling at the end of the day. So we've done about 150 wholesale deals. When I say I have a 50-50 business partner right now. I met him at a home inspection, a draw inspection 3.5 years ago. So it's all full circle how it comes together. And I'm getting married here next week. And my guy who's doing the wedding, who's marrying me and my wife, was 30 minutes late to the meetup. That inspection. It was his house. He was selling it to us. He was hungover. His name's Terry. He's one of my best friends now. So he gave us 30 minutes at this inspection to talk about just nothing. So it's all full circle in how it comes together. But he was in car sales. I was an inspector. He owned car lots and knew sales like the back of his hand. I knew houses and I had a great network. Boom, wholesaling came together, blew it up. So for over the last 3 years, we've done 150 wholesale deals, pure wholesale deals, probably another 100 off-market transactions direct to seller from there. So everything is about finding the deal off market, and then how do we monetize it from 3 different spokes? Do we wholesale it? Do we fix and flip it? Do we burr it and manage it ourselves? We manage all of our properties in-house, or do we hold it and Airbnb it? My mom quit her job of 30 years being a teacher to sell all my real estate now, and she runs our Airbnb company. So everything starts with the wholesaling company, in my opinion.
That's awesome. Thanks for the visual on the foundation too. So candidly, we've kind of talked about this offline, but we've thought about dabbling into the wholesale kind of field purely based on what you're saying. There's so many avenues or other exit strategies you can do with the deal, right? Like if it doesn't work for you, it might work for somebody else. You can shell it off, or then you can talk flip, you could talk Airbnb, et cetera, right? There's so many strategies, but my question is the next couple of minutes will probably be just like diving in on wholesaling. Can you talk to us about the time commitment for like new kids on the block where never done it, no idea. We just figure, hey, are we ripping OBs and hopefully someone picks up and I can persuade them to buy this deal I have, or do you hire a call company? Like maybe give us the flow of it, and then we can move on to how you guys scaled the business.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, if you're in my position when I started and have no money, you maybe have time and you have hustle. It's a massive, massive, massive time commitment. So when we teach this now, we say you have 2 of 3 things, you never have all 3: time, money, and effort. If you have a lot of money, that means you probably have a full-time job with not a lot of time, maybe you have a little bit of effort. So you can pour money into marketing, because wholesaling is a marketing and sales business. You're selling a commodity. It's not even real estate. If you look at it that way, you're marketing for it and you're making money by giving a product to somebody. So you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, what do you really have to offer? If you're young, you're broke, you have no money, you better hustle and work every hour and minute that you possibly can, because you got to get the phone to ring. So if you're not on the phones, you're not getting deals. So the flow of wholesaling looks like this, at least our company and most that I know. So you got to find data. So every house around you is a data point, but you want to find distressed or motivated data points. So people that have equity, houses that are beat up, and then you go and you get a hold of them. So it's called skip tracing. So you skip trace those data points, get their phone number. And if you're young and broke, you can go knock on their doors. You can pick up the phone, get a Google Voice or something, and cold call them. I mean, that's the oldest thing in the book, and it works. So if you're on a budget, do that. Or you can hire cold callers. So our business, I'll get into it here in a little bit, but we hire cold calling overseas, calling all day, every day for us and funneling leads into our system. But in the beginning, it was my business partner. We got a triple line dialer, which is a cold caller, a cold call system that calls 3 people at one time. If one person picks up, it drops the other 2 calls and leaves them a voicemail. So you give 3 times the output all at once. So, and then at the same time, we do mass texting. So the same lists you get, we send them to cold calling, and then we also mass text them. And when those leads come in, we're just on the phones talking to them. Hey, nurturing relationships, building rapport, and being that person. Because it is one other thing about wholesaling, is massively saturated, and it's super, super, super competitive. So your competitive edge is your story, your elevator pitch, and how good you can be on the phones and with people.
Very cool. So yeah, we know a bunch of people that wholesale, and I think one of the biggest, I know he's a little bit larger now, and I don't know if it's exactly wholesaling. He does a bunch of stuff, but Ryan Dossie, I believe his name is. Like I heard a couple episodes he had, and not only is he super business savvy, but he created I forget, not robo dialer. He has what's it called?
Astro flipping.
Astro flipping is another guy. I don't know if maybe they're together now too, but Jason.
They are.
Okay. Or something. Yeah, but exactly right. I was going to mention him too. But I heard their episodes. I'm like, oh my God, these guys have such a system, and to go into a field that we don't know much about, right? To compete with these dudes, I'm like, I would want to join them. I'd be like, hey, like for example, like if we decided we want to embark on this journey, we would go to you. We would go to Ryan and be like, hey guys, like, what's it cost? We hate to say it, but buy your time, right? And then kind of that's a mentorship, and then you learn the business, and then you work together, and then it grows from there. But I only mentioned that because you said the competitiveness. We've seen it firsthand. We've talked to these guys, and it's crazy. So I know there's a lot of kids out there, and I say kids, but like young 20-year-olds, maybe they're not going to college or they just got out, and they don't have the dough, but they have the time. They can go do it. What would you say to some people that lack the time, but maybe have the funds? How would they go about it?
Yeah, if you have the funds, you got to figure out a system to give you leads while you're at work or doing whatever you're doing to make that money. So paying for a really good website, so PPC or search engine optimization, and maybe hire cold callers, maybe have some virtual assistants sprinkled in there to kind of do your work for you. And then you still gotta have a closer. So if you want to get into wholesaling, you gotta be okay with getting on the phones, and you gotta be a closer. So however you can get leads into your system, you can hustle for it, or you can pay for them and build your system. Now you have to have a really good system if you do that. So a system that pulls data for you. So right now, like our business, for example, we have 2 virtual assistants that run 80% of our wholesaling company on the bottom end. Aura, she's out of the Philippines, both of them. She pulls lists online. She gets the free county data. She gets the paid data from PropStream. She knows when to pull them, how to pull them, when to send them to marketing, when to send them here. She's better than we are at it now. When we pay her $6, not $7 an hour now. So being able to be business savvy and hire people that can do the job for you and train them really well is pretty much, in my opinion, the key to success. And you got to have a good system around it. Very
cool. You mentioned Bigger Pockets earlier in the episode and talked about kind of how you listen to it in your car rides, right? We've done that for years too. So I'm curious if you've ever started a profile on there. Obviously, you probably have a profile, but have you used that forum or the resources on there to kind of boost up your business a little bit? Because the reason I ask is we have a friend who is an agent, and he also has another business, and he essentially pays for leads, and he sells a shitload of houses from people that come from Bigger Pockets. They're aspiring investors. I'm curious how that would work within your business.
Yeah, so I have a pro account, but I do not pay for it. I do know agents that get just a ton of out-of-state investors that come to invest in Columbus that way. And they'll pay premiums. I know a whole company in Columbus that's built their entire business model on that. And I was doing all their inspections. For inspections, I was getting good business out of it. But most of my online generation of business and anything is really on Instagram right now. So that's really the place I focus everything on.
And within Instagram, what's your funnel system look like? And you don't have to, I'm not trying to get salesy here, but just specifically, like we have an Instagram too. And I'm curious how people outline their systems, and basically, are you trying to get leads to sell properties to, or are you trying to get people to join your business?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all non-ROI type stuff right now. We just launched our community, which we can talk about later. But for the last 2 years, I've been posting every single day and just posting about what I do. So becoming that guy in my area about like, if you got a deal, you know who to take it to. And then also, I've been posting on my story on Instagram for probably 5, 6 years since I got into real estate. So like walking as an inspector through a shitty house, walking literally through human poop or whatever it may be, till now, like owning all the houses and having the assets. I have people that hit me up 5 years later, like, hey, I've been following you for 5 years. I've seen what you've done before. I see what you're doing now. How do I get involved? And they want to lend me private money. So I get a ton of private money from Instagram, just from being candid and keeping it real with people. So, and then I get deals a lot from there. So empowering youth, younger people that don't know where to go, where to get the advice, I give them the advice. And I have free meetups that I throw that people come from Instagram. So really just trying to build that web, and then trying to build back-end funnels and systems on the capturing and get people into the community now.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's great. We were talking about this the other day, and it's funny. You always think it's the ebooks or the courses or the clickable things, right? But a lot of it for us, the ROIs, you said it perfectly. It's like it's almost like intangible ROI. I forget exactly how you said it, but the relationships you build, and people have been following for a while. Then you finally get face to face, and they're like, "Dude, I feel like I've known you for 5 years purely based because I've listened to your podcast." And
Exactly.
like, I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day. We've talked a lot on DMs, and even me just talking to him, I'm like, dude, I feel like I've known you literally for 5 years. He's like, dude, we just haven't talked on the phone and haven't met face to face. So it was actually really cool, full circle moment. And then we're talking about doing future deals together, just a lot of stuff that it takes one interaction, right? Or one person, not one interaction, a lot of touch points over time, but one person to just be like, dude, it was totally worth it, and it doesn't have to be those clickable. I think the reason I'm mentioning this is a lot of people are like, hey, I want to be an influencer and I want to drive funnel sales to my course or my ebook. Like, dude, some people are amazing at it, right? But it's not all about that. And it's called social media for a reason. Like, it's about the interactions. So
yes, the relationship capital is what my mentors have always told me. Like, those relationships are powerful as hell. And a lot of people get that so wrong. They go to a networking event or they go to get coffee and they are figuring out what they can get out of that person immediately. So transactional. Like give. I'm very Gary V about that. Like give. And it may come back tomorrow. It may come back in 5 years. I don't know when, but I know if you do give and you give good advice and you actually help people, it's going to come back.
Totally. And then at that point, the cool part is with all of the interactions, right? And like people coming in, and you actually build real life relationships with these people, and you find future business partners, which is so cool, man. And I think we go in the beginning, we're just like, how are we going to put our story out there? Who's going to give a shit? Like, we're kind of scared. Like, do we sound smart? This is when we first started properties, right? And then it just, look at us now, right? Like, all of us, it's just kind of interesting. 3, 4, 5 years later, and you're like, yeah, I just feel like I've been doing it forever. Like, it's the second nature. So it's awesome.
It's the consistency too. Like, just the continually putting yourself out there, even though through the bad content, through the mediocre content, through the good content, like, you keep hitting the drum and doing it over and over again. And you find a validity through that. And then people start to respect you. And then they can also know what to expect from you. And that's why we've got a podcast episode every single week, because people know what to expect from us. And it's setting that virtual resume. So just wanted to throw that in there as a note. But the next thing I want to talk about is maybe if you could point out a specific deal that you've done that you found very lucrative, or your favorite deal. Like, maybe it's whether it's a wholesale, whether it's a flip, whether it's a buy and hold. Like, what's been your favorite project, and maybe just give us some of the details of the ins and outs of how that transpired.
Well, my favorite deal, I mean, they kind of change from time to time, but my latest favorite deal, we bought a triplex in downtown Columbus, one of the nicest areas of downtown Columbus. From a wholesaler. The wholesaler found me through one of the biggest wholesalers in Texas who I had networked with. So we talked about relationship capital, going to these events, putting yourself out there, and not expecting anything in return. So they found me through him. His name is Donovan Ruffin, and these people are out of California. So Stu, and if you guys have heard of Chris DeShark, so Chris and Stu out in California, they had a PPC lead in Columbus. So who did they call? They called me because they knew that I was buying in Columbus, Ohio, just from networking. So turns out it's a triplex in an A area. He was like, hey, 400,000, what do you think? And I was like, 100-year-old place. It probably needs a lot of work. So we're like, let's walk it at least. So we walked it, and we're like, the dude updated all the electrical, all the plumbing, all the HVAC. It was mostly drywall. I mean, it just needed cosmetics. I was like, holy shit, this could be an amazing deal. So we get them down to $395. We purchase it cash using private money. We put 150 grand into the property, put it up on all 3 units are on Airbnb. It appraised at $780,000.
So you were all in for like 445 and it appraised for 780.
We were all in like,
I'm sorry, 545. Yeah.
545. And then the interest on the hard money or the private money was right around like 25 grand. So we got a 75% loan to value loan, cashed out everybody, have $0 into this property. So we now own almost $1 million asset with $0 invested because one, built relationships with private money lenders that had the capacity to lend that much money, and two, networked across the country. We learned from people while we did it, and you never know what's going to come back. So we now own that asset. We're going to hold it long term. I'll never sell that property ever, probably. And it's just one of those things. Like if they came to me across my desk 3 years ago, I'm not prepared for it. Those numbers scare me. I have no idea what to do with a deal like that. So it's pretty much an opportunity meets preparation type thing of let's go for it. I'm ready. And we now have a little bit of capital in our pockets, and we have a little bit of equity in other properties. If it goes south, like let's take the risk.
Yeah,
So,
I love the opportunity. The preparation meets opportunity. Like that's
what luck is, right? That operation means luck equals preparation plus opportunity.
Yeah, and like the harder you work, the luckier you get. That whole thing is like. But I'm curious about the cash flow on that from an Airbnb in Columbus. Obviously, I know that you can do Airbnbs pretty much in any city, anywhere that people are potentially traveling to, and then also like the vacation spots or like out in the middle of nowhere, people are going to go like camping or glamping or whatever. But I don't know a lot about the Airbnb market in Columbus. What do those properties bring in?
Yeah, I mean, the Airbnb market's okay, and we're still like they've been up for probably 2 months, so I have not really.
Oh, that's the beginning, dude. That's the beginning for sure.
So I'm hoping. I mean, Airbnb is just so saturated in Columbus, so I'm hoping they can bring in like at least $5,000 a unit, and our note on it is right around $5,000 on it. So, got a pretty expensive DSCR loan on it, but had to kind of get it done, and we'll refinance it down the road.
Well, it's a triplex too, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. If you can get 5 a unit, that's 15 and you owe 5. I mean, 10 plus. That's awesome, dude. I also really like, dude, you mentioned a couple of names, but I think people listening, like those are some big fish. And I'm not like, just because it's Chris the Shark, it's fish. Yeah. Like, see what I did there? But I follow him. He does a lot of e-commerce and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Are you guys now partners in this deal, or did you, when you paid them back out, they're done and this is your asset?
They're done. It's our asset. So we paid them a wholesale fee. And my money partners, they got paid out on the exit. So we own it 100%.
That's unbelievable. Congrats, man. That's a very sick deal. Very, very sick.
I appreciate it.
No wonder it's your favorite. I love it. That's awesome. Dude.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to talk about your community and just this is new, right? Like it's a very not new. I'm sure you've been working on it behind the scenes for a while. No disrespect there, but it's new to the surface of your potential community. So, what is the Real Side Real Estate community? If you can give it to us in a nutshell, what kind of value do you bring people who might want to join?
Yeah, I mean, the Real Side of Real Estate is exactly what it is. So there's too many people on the internet that I've realized over the last couple of years that just sugarcoat just about everything to sell on the internet. So building a following is like, okay, how can I like one, make a little bit of money, and then also like help people truly. So I also noticed like nobody talks about their losses in real estate. And I hear a lot of people are like, I have all these assets. I have no money. I did the BRRRR method on every one. I have no money invested. I'm like, that's a lie. And then they're like, I've never taken a loss. I'm like, that's also a lie. Like you guys are so full of shit. So just try to really break the mold of like, it's okay to lose. It's okay to have losses. So we call it no gurus, no fluff, real results. That's what we're going to provide in there. And we're going to teach everything. So a lot of people don't teach construction in their courses. We're going to have a full like 50-hour construction, how to flip houses. There's a wholesaling 101. So A to Z, how we're actually finding deals. There's going to be a private money crash course. And there's also going to be a BRRRR method breakdown. So a full training on the BRRRR method and how to actually manage those properties in-house. And then a private community to where it's in a Slack channel and there's every single thing in my whole team. I have 10 team members on my team now in-house. and they're all integrated within those channels to answer your questions real time within that community.
That's super valuable, dude.
So valuable.
Dare I ask the price on this?
So right now the price is probably going to go up in like 6 months, but right now to start it's $400 and then $99 a month.
Oh, that's stupid.
Send that to yeah, dude. Move shot that shit. That and I don't mean stupid for you pricing that. I'm like,
no, it's great.
It's an amazing deal. Like people for the value you're gonna get. And we just recently joined a mastermind, and the pricing is, I guess, a little bit more expensive than that, but it's not as concentrated. I really love that yours is concentrated within the sphere of real estate, and it's like, hey, the hard part of real estate, or one of the hardest parts, is analyzing, finding deals, and then also the construction. People get burned so much on construction and manage, dude, I'm preaching to the choir, but like, that is so cool that you're willing to open up your network to people and to have that Slack channel. Dude, some people do Discord, some people do Facebook, which we're not even on, like, at this point. I
Facebook groups.
Dude, I friggin' hate it. It's stupid, but I get a certain age demographic appreciates it and that they're locked all day on it. For us, we're not. We're IG guys, right? And probably not as much TikTok. I don't know if you are, but like IG's our thing and whatever.
Yeah,
but
same.
He's a TikTok bro.
Is he?
Oh yeah, he's all
fire.
We're
not good at
it. We post on it, but I don't ever monitor it.
Well, hey, once you get sucked in, you'll be in it for 4 hours, so that's all you got to stay away from it. Just post and bounce.
I was just going like age limit, right? Or age gap, right? Like it seems to be like the kids right out of college right now that are like locked in on it. But whatever. Needless to say, the Slack channel is a cool idea, and I like that because it's very organized, and you have someone in what you said, like 10 different lanes, right? And just kind of all encompassing. So very cool. Is your are you still open for taking new people on? What are you capping it at?
Yeah, it's open to the public, so it's going to be open for forever. And we also have, like, after this, I have my Tuesday night live call with the community, and I'm going to break down how to raise private money. So you get a live call with me and my team, or an affiliate every week. So I mean, it's give as much value as we can. And I mean, like I said, you have dedicated channels to everything. You talked about Facebook. Like, what if you want to go back to find about what somebody asked about, maybe a novation deal or something? How do you find that in Facebook other than like a search bar and you have to sift through a bunch of shit? But like the channels are right there. Like they tell you exactly what you're going to find. So you have like renovation process, house check questions. Like my home inspection team is in it. My title company sits in the Slack channel for any title questions. I have a credit repair guy sitting in there. Like there's just a whole bunch of stuff loaded up for whoever the hell wants to get value out of it. Because closed mouths don't get fed.
No, they don't. And dude, oh my God, this is the value you're providing. Put it this way. Karma is a thing. And I know we don't even think about this, right? It's like built out as a business, but just the lives you're going to change from the community. It's so cool, dude, because if one person buys one property, you're good. Like seriously, like, we tell people now, like that are finance 101 or whatever you want to call it, like getting your financial house in order, like just get a property, dude, and then eventually get one a year, and then you're set. Yeah. You really are set. Mm-hmm. But obviously, most people will still continue to go to their jobs from there, but whatever. The reason I bring this up, one last question on that is, your live calls, do you record them and then drop them in the channel for people to go back to as like a vault?
Yeah, we have a vault. So right when you log in, right when you sign up, you get an automated email. It gives you the vault, it gives you the Slack channel, and it gives you something else. I forget what it is. But you get the vault right away and they're all recorded.
Very cool, dude.
The reason why I love the real side, like the name and the idea behind it, is because, you know, there is this whole thing out there that you have to do things a certain way. Like, BRRRR, so that you can spend no money on real estate. It's like, dude, like, give me a break. Like, and then also, or like house hack so you can live for free. What if, just in theory, and this is what some of the just lessons that we've learned, what if instead of spending $1,800 a month on rent, you were able to spend $450 on rent by house hacking, right? What if we explained it that way and you have that $1,200 spread, not just this all or nothing game? And like one of our properties that we did is we did a BRRRR, but we didn't refinance because there wasn't enough equity to refi. Okay, we have all this equity sitting in the property. It's cash flowing every month, but it wasn't a true BRRRR. And it's just like, I think that those stories about, you can aim for this certain goal, but you're going to get knocked in a bunch of different ways. And it's happened. Like, dude, we had a fucking house burned down. I'm like that. I never thought that was going to happen when I got into real estate. Like, luckily insurance worked out for us, but like, Jesus, like you just, certain things you just don't think, like, and not to mention that house burning down, but 2 weeks before it burned down, we spent $9,000 on new flooring for the whole house. So it's like,
it's insane.
Right? Like, my point in saying all this is that the real side is, I think, the best way to approach the game, and I love the name of it because there's infinite upside in this game, but it does not come without getting a few stones thrown at you. So I think that's the moral of this story. And anybody that's preaching that they never lost money, like you said, I guess it's possible, but it's likely not true.
Well,
lastly on,
go ahead. No, you go.
Lastly on that, like all the people that I know that they're selling the dream, and like a lot of people don't have that much money. They're setting the complete wrong expectation for their community too. When you get in, they're like, okay, well, I paid the money. Why am I not rich yet? Why don't I have these deals? Like, when do the deals come? I just paid my money. Like, what's up? And if they see me on Instagram talking about, I just lost 20 grand on a flip. Like, this is the real scary side of real estate. I'm getting sued by my contractor. Like, you have to have a little bit of money. You have to have good credit. You have to have things that, like, unless you want to just wholesale, and if you have no money at all and want to wholesale, it's possible, but you better work 15-hour days trying to get those deals.
Yep.
So it's just the right expectations, and that's a business lesson in general.
Yeah, and how about this, Tommy? The fact that inflation is a lot higher than it even that it's even reporting to be. The fact is that everyone wants to leave their job and everyone wants to go into this thing full time, and it's like now is a time where you should be potentially thankful for your job. Continue to stack it, use it, buy assets, because you don't have another choice. Inflation's crushing you on every other side. But so everyone that wants to leave their job as this like escape and thinks that real estate is like the end all be all, or this escape from something, if you don't fall in love with it or the process or the relationship building or some aspect of it, you're not going to feel fulfilled, and it probably isn't going to work for you because there's so many things that could potentially go wrong. But it's this chipping away game. You just got to keep chipping away at it. And Ryan and I were just talking about this the other day. We turn around 4 or 5 years later and we've really lifted to a different stratosphere. But all of these, it's like the stock market almost. Like you're just kind of like
down and up.
But then when you look back, you're like, oh shit, I was at the bottom. But it doesn't feel like it on some days. So, I kind of already said the same thing over, but I just want people to realize, like, I wouldn't say go try to do this to try to escape something you dislike. Try to fall in love with an aspect of this game, and then that's why you'll become potentially good at it. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, and like back to the real side of real estate. Tommy, you started out the show with losing $100 grand. Like that's what which is great, dude. It goes to your story perfectly. Yeah. It's like, I'm not sugarcoating it. This sucked, and we were like, okay, cool, we can follow that up. Ours burned to the ground, dude. We're just I like the vibes, but we had Mike Ayala, he was on the show. He's freaking awesome. And he just framed it a little bit for us. He's like, dude, if you get into real estate, or you become an entrepreneur, he's like, you need to know this before going in. You're going to war every single day. That's the mindset you need to go with, because you're fighting for that financial freedom, right? But it's more so, it's a little bit more purposeful for us than the W-2 side, right? You're clocking in with someone else. This is our thing. It's creative. You're deciding your own future, and right, you're going to lose. You are 100% going to lose. So don't go into it if you don't expect that. But it's more fun and more fulfilling, at least coming from this side now, like telling people, hey, like, how's it been for you guys? It's been a beautiful, I wouldn't say beautiful disaster, right? Because we've had way more ups and downs, but there are some dark days, I will say, right? Just with anything, dude. That's with sales, with any type of job you're going to. So, but the fulfilling aspect and the purpose, like waking up every day, we just love the grind, dude, and it's ours. So, yeah.
The only way through it is time and consistency, and that's with all of real estate, and especially with different aspects. Wholesaling. If you want to wholesale, you better be consistent as hell in marketing and consistent with talking to sellers every day. If you want to own rental properties and gain financial freedom, you better consistently be buying deals, whether it's one a year, one every month, whatever it is, and you're going to gain your cash flow through time and equity and wealth through time. So it's all a time game. Now, how fast or how slow you want to go is completely up to you. But if you want to put rocket fuel on the bag, whatever you want to do, it's possible. But you just have to have the expectation that it's going to take 10 times longer than you think it's going to in the very beginning. And you have to be way consistent during that time period.
Yep. And I would say to people, don't knock a deal that brings you $300 or $400 a month in cash flow. Like, don't look at that like, it's going to take forever. It's like, it might on that if your expectation is to retire in 3 years, but like that should be something that maybe springboards you to the next thing that you like. Anyway, I could talk about this for hours, but do you want to jump into the core four? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, cool. Just that topic. I felt like I was running it up. Cool. So, Tommy, what is your favorite investing or real estate book that you maybe could recommend to other people that have helped springboard you along your journey?
One of the best books I read, and it was after Bigger Pockets podcast, was Who Not How. You guys ever read Who Not How?
Yep. One of my favorite books.
Amazing book. Sorry, my fiance was popping in. Who Not How. I mean, just teaches you about like you don't always especially coming from a home inspection background, you don't always have to be the person doing the work. There's systems, there's processes, and there's people that you can put in place to do it and probably do it better than you can do it already. So Who Not How is a game changer.
Yeah, and I think even just the phrase "who not how," right? Like it kind of tells you what the book's about. The book goes into further detail, but truly, like, how can you find someone that has done it better than you and you can replicate what they've done, or at least take bits and pieces of their journey? This is what we do, dude. Every single Wednesday, that is what we do. We bring people on that are better than us, and we say, "Hey, how the hell did you do it?" And they give all these bits of information. It's like, "Oh my God, dude, that resonated with me. Let's go learn that, try that," and it just 3 years compounding over time and consistency showing up, as you mentioned a million times, like it's come full circle and it's just going to continue to. So who know how, just like surround yourself with those people, however you want to do it. Start a podcast, go to a mastermind, start a meetup. Like there's so many ways to do it, but important to bring up. Great book. I highly recommended. Here's a fun one. Second question on the core four. If we gave you, let's just say tax-free, a check for $100,000 today, how would you invest it, spend it, use it based on where you and your business and your life is currently at?
I would probably put a decent amount into marketing in my wholesaling business. I'll put a bunch away for marketing consistency on that end. Oh man, $100,000. I'd probably pay off some debts I have, probably pay my American Express off that I have pretty high every month for my construction side, you know. I like to tell people, man, like it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's the real side of real estate, man. I mean, you go broke a lot. You go broke a hell of a lot. I got 10 team members. I probably put it in reserves. I put it all into a bank account to have reserves for refinances for community banking. That's probably exactly what I would do with it.
That's cool. Love it.
It's awesome.
Let me ask you this real quick. When you say marketing for wholesaling, right? It's broad side. Like we also, candidly, we almost went into wholesaling at one point, or just thought about it. And they're like, yeah, you're gonna need $3,000 a month or something like that for marketing. I'm like, what? Okay, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't even know what the $3,000's going to. Yeah. We dive in, but
mailers, cold calling, like that type of stuff.
Yeah. So we kind of everybody jumbles into this bucket. So we spend about $8,000 in marketing. It brings us 5 to 7 to 10 off market deals a month. And that's going to be your text blasting. So your platforms, so your CRMs. So we got Launch Control. We have PropStream. We have Podio. We have our cold callers. We have our 2 VAs sprinkled in there. We have our data that we're pulling. And we have skip tracing all in that bucket of marketing. So it's basically your complete overhead, what you're spending. And then you also have commission. So our guys are 1099 commission based. And that's not included within that 8 to 10,000 that we're spending now.
I knew it was deeper than the list. That's great. Thanks, dude. That was awesome.
For sure.
So question 3, what has been your biggest mistake? Maybe you already shared it with us, but biggest mistake in your investing journey and how have you learned from it?
Doing too big of a deal in the beginning, getting too antsy. So I wanted to get in so bad that I just kind of jumped into a deal, didn't really know how to underwrite it. Didn't buy a house with easily compared sales, man. So like I would highly recommend anybody new that's listening, buy a house that is so in an area so dense, you can look down the street and you can see 3 houses that sold for $100,000 more, whatever it is, with granite countertops, soft close cabinets, LVP floors, paint, like just exact comparable sales. And then don't be afraid to give away a little bit of your first deal to somebody that can walk you through it as well. So just jumping in, trying to do it on my own, having an ego about it, that whole thing.
Love it. Good advice. So last question is, what do you want your legacy to be? So why are you getting up out of bed every morning to do what you do, and kind of give us your overarching why?
Sure. My why is my family. So like I said, I get married here, was it Tuesday? Next Thursday.
Oh, wow. Congrats, at that soon.
That's not going to be in us. That's great.
Yeah. So next Thursday, I'm getting married. But we'll probably have some kids here in the next couple of years. So the family thing is huge. I'm one of 5 kids. My dad's an entrepreneur. My dad had like 10 strokes a couple of years back, like very small strokes, but he's perfectly fine. He got lucky. But I was out with my buddies in Nashville. I never really tell the story, never have publicly, but I got a call, I was out with my buddies and he was like, yeah, like dad's in the hospital. He had all these strokes. And I was like, that's fucking nuts. So like life is pretty precious. And saw what he's done for my family. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to use the same thing he's given me, but I'm going to take it up a notch and do it even better. So get free time to spend with my family while you have them. And then my mom, like I said, quit her job to work for me. My little brother now just graduated college, works for me. My other little brother inspects with my dad and started his own investing company. So just like really changing the dinner table conversations, man. That's been the big thing.
That's very cool, man.
It's awesome. I love that.
That probably is my favorite answer.
Yeah,
so far.
that-
That's out of like 2-3 years, dude. So nice.
Appreciate it.
That's great. Yeah.
Last question, called the last drop. And it is, let's say you can go back to talk to your, I don't know, 17, 18-year-old self. What advice would you give 18-year-old Tommy, and why?
Go as hard as you thought you were going to go. Like, don't give away, like sports. Like I said, Division I athlete, you got this ego about you and you think you're the man. Like, keep that like very high confidence in yourself and just never give up. So you're going to get hit a lot quicker than you think, more than you think. Just never give up, because like the stuff you dream about, it's going to come true. You just never know when it's going to, but as long as you're consistent, you're going to get damn close.
Love it, man. Tommy, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. We're obviously like-minded. We have some similar stuff going on, and it's just been cool to get to hear the real side of your story. So thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. It's an absolute pleasure. Super nice meeting you guys. I'm excited to grow the relationship as well. So if you guys are in Columbus, Ohio, don't know if you guys drink beer or anything, but I'd love to have a beer, eat some chicken wings, do the whole Midwest thing with you guys. So would love to kick it and build a relationship.
Would love it, man.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the Weekly Juice Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share with friends. The more ratings we get, the more ears we'll get on our show, and in turn, we'll be able to provide you with more high-quality guests. You can also find us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod, where we post daily tips and tricks and document our own journey towards financial freedom. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday to get your weekly juice.